Hello everyone. Today's talk is titled Feeling Eternal Being. And so may we begin at dawn, standing beside the shores of perhaps the greatest ocean known to man, and we notice a lighthouse. And so we wonder how many men this lighthouse has guided home. We wonder what symbols really mean, and where does all this light go? How long does man want to stay in his stories and wonder of the intelligence beyond himself? Who are you? And is destiny misplaced? Consciousness is not eluded by the knowing that is within the self. It is man who must stand up. You must recognize freedom of expression is your renaissance, for before an external renaissance manifests outside, many people must internally change. Consciousness must become your priority. Nothing else needs to be the same. Do not avoid the truth that you are, and do not avoid the truth that is within you. This is not a joke, this is not a game. Understand human intelligence, explore all that remains. When one thinks of what the concept of feeling eternal being even means, you begin to see it's implying that there is an aspect of you that is eternal, and that aspect is. And so when man becomes aware of his isness rather than him doing something to figure things out, he will become really aware that the observance of being and the observance of doing are two different states of active form. And so there's a silence there where you were never lost in the noise. See it this way, that human consciousness is moving towards the aims of greater deeds. It is being found that the intelligence one is a life form. So what that means is when you begin to see, just as you are alive and an ant stands beside your feet, we too are within a life form. This whole cosmos is alive, and the emptiness that we feel was simply the reason we could not hide. You begin to see it's like we are held in such a way where the fabrication needs no interpretation, for it is always moving in the knowing that it does. When I began to look at people, I realized there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of stories where characters are lost in or are trying not to even get close to their desires. Enough with stories. Mankind needs to evolve. And this transcendence is one that will shake the core of reality for you. And it better does. It better does shake it. You know, it's a very interesting phenomenon to see that your exploration of eternity was your observance of where the absence was. So if we are considering space, and if we are considering our time and space segmented like a box, how long does a man want to hide when there's a world beyond his eyes? We cannot ignore it. We are multidimensional beings. And so Mr.Within will say this, and so the reason it is being said, because the Renaissance needs to happen before the great advancement comes forth. We have not even seen the greatest consciousness technologies evolve here, because man is just becoming aware of his multidimensional hue. It's as if one man has woken up, and so other men are recognizing they were never asleep, and because we were never asleep, the illusion was a falsity. And we were never lost. We were the observance of our order. We were the observance of our chaos. We were the freedom of the passage. And do not worry. For once you observe the nature of the self, you begin to see that all your logic, all your searches, all your thoughts on thoughts and thoughts have led to nowhere but an understanding of the heart, that the human form, that any existential individual form is dying to live through all that it has been defined out of. Do not ignore the fact that you are blended here. Do not forget the fact that you are life. When you notice life comes from life, you begin to see a significance. You begin to see that words were not meant to be kept. They were meant to catalyze. And after you were catalyzed, they were gone. They were incorporated into your memory in the way they had to. And so you will begin to see that you're never living for yourself. And so the meaning is beyond an intelligence that has to be individual. You will feel the eternity of being. Therefore, begin to see that you need to observe your joy. You need to cultivate an aspect of yourself in this reality that is more observant and mindful of its handling. And you also need to cultivate an aspect of it that is just letting go of things and appreciating. Man's mind is able. We have simultaneous projection, and people may think TV is a bad thing, but trust me, TV has conditioned the minds of man to jump into a multidimensionality which always suggests that there was nothing to worry about. Do not make your conclusions when there's no need to conclude. It's a journey, it's moving, it's going on. And the novelty of now is your prophet, suggesting that there's always the omniscience of being. So your mindfulness suggests how you are presented to this world. So it gives you an understanding of a world within worlds. Calibrating to deeper modalities of thought means that more of the spectrum is being confronted. So you're not just thinking you're a good citizen, you're not just thinking you're a bad citizen, you're just going into an understanding where you're visualizing the human experience in all aspects of how it could be good and bad, and simultaneously realizing that as an existential point of attention, you're able to confront it and move beyond. Many people think spirituality is dead and, there's, things are lost, but that is ridiculous. Spirituality was a symbol for simply an aspect of man's nature where his self-observance always communicated. And guess what? That's where knowledge comes from. For once you know, this knowing begins to go to others. It's as if the cup has become full and your understanding is filled. And after your understanding is filled, it doesn't matter if the cup is empty or not. You begin to contribute. So perhaps we might find that the Dalai Lama is a very interesting being if there's the suggestion that there's reincarnation into a certain task. For the task and the ability to be there as the presence and the knower of the task means that the omniscience is it's beyond it. That's why it's here. Do you see? It's here because it's untouched, because it knows the destination collectively. So collective consciousness is here. You need to be aware of it. And if any time in your life you're wondering what you're doing or whether it's right or wrong, perhaps ask this one question. Mr.Within finds this is a good question to ask. What am I contributing to this life? That's it. And there you don't really need an answer, because the answer should be the observance of the present moment. That's it. And you will see that you are feeling the eternity of being always. Because your being is eternal the minute it is temporal. The suggestion is the illumination. Once it's spoken, reality is created. But as you observe beyond that reality, you're no longer lost, heartless, for you realizing the heart was the greatest surrender to all that is. Truth is not ignorance into a form that is lost into a world where it's making itself able. You want to understand the nature of your creation as the nature of the Creator. You're not here to judge the creation with other creation. You're not here to compare origin stories or to compare theories to religious doctrine. You are here to utilize all forms to become aware of your formless presence. Consciousness cannot be lost in a story for too long. Stop fighting. The fight is based on a story. Because if there's no story, there's no fight. You're just human beings chilling, drinking water when you're thirsty. It's all this advancement in a certain manner that is making us think that we cannot be present in our most illuminated vision. Wonder about the journey of mankind, and you will have no ignorance that will make you not be compassionate to other beings. They are part of your journey as a species. All human beings are. Do not injure beings and be aware of their psychology too. You might be a polite person, but you might not be aware that sometimes your politeness might be making people around you feel as if you are not yourself. Do you see this? There's a sincerity that must immediately cleanse you and bring you to a space of authenticity where then you may approach things with more of a certainty grounded in what you are. So what that means is if you think you're a body, if you think you have a face, you'll be, oh gosh, my face is not perfect. But if you begin thinking very deeply like a mystic, you begin to see, is my reality perfect? And you begin observing reality. And as you put more effort in understanding what all this means, the cosmos opens up to you. Your intuition was always the answer. When all problems dissipated out of you, you need to recognize that because we're multidimensional beings, it might sound a bit rusty for a little while. This renaissance is going to happen. It's going to be a unique one because it's going to be a renaissance in how the human being is communicating. So it's as if like the human being is becoming aware of advanced communication, and so culturally, as he's present in a society, he begins to change. So the fabulous thing about society is that it's brought a collective potential. Now the collective potential so far, it's not looking so good, but as each individual catalyzes and increases their state of consciousness, he will immediately make his environment more alive. Do you know? And that is why, for example, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi could bring transcendental meditation to the Western world, simply because the ability of communication was open, but the content of communication was rubbish. So you begin to see that the Western world, with their technological advancements, have very clear channels of communication, but the forms that are being communicating, the channels are not clean because they're being fueled by a certain view which is being kept. So what needs to happen is that existential awareness needs to enter the life of the being, and that existential awareness suggests that, are you contributing to the human experience, or are you contributing to your projection? There's a difference. We don't want false astronomy. Give yourself an understanding that is taking you to where everything is being made aware of. Consciousness does not care, and so sometimes you may find yourself involuntarily moving when you are being very devout, when you are loving something. Do you know? It's as if that in love you surrendered, you let go of, you let that person be free. You gave complete openness for manifestation of any form. That is true love, because love is an allowance for anything to happen. What is greater than the love this Western world has known is the love for love, is the inspiration for why we are alive. We must recognize that communication is getting more advanced. The renaissance will happen. Individuals will go into higher states of consciousness and contribute to their work. This work will catalyze others. It will become an amazing facility for the exploration of the inner worlds of man, and humanity will become a great development. As multidimensional awareness opens up, there will be establishments where ideas begin to suggest where the solidity of manifestation are coming from. So we're looking at the geometry of our abstraction, and that is a wonderful thing and great area for man to explore. As this occurs simultaneously, external technology will be increasing, so man cannot ignore that there's an aspect of the external world that is suggesting that the external world is the origination. We're always between this paradox of not knowing whether the external world is the origination or the internal, but on some level we know it is within, because the external shifts and the temporal reality changes. Death is right at our doorstep. So we need to realize that the births that need to happen are ones where we are taking calculated approaches in going through moments of clear emptiness and then receiving ideas that just transition our life. Because the idea is coming from a cognition you have received, which has taken you to a higher state of being. For example, the communication happening for this talk right now is a flow. And what that means is that you're not worried about the way language is being manifest. You're simply feeling that the energy is present, and so human communication is a natural process. And so when you look at nature, what do you see? You see a being that is never late, for the being is in omniscience. And in omniscience, your continuation was always accessible, and eternity was there and always felt. It was only in the reality that began to solidify that you could not see where the vision of man was leading. For there is a beauty in the unknown vision of man that suggests his whole knowing can shift, his whole world can change. And so enough with the fantasies and sci-fi, and so self-exploration shall move all blockades of illusion. Illusion is still being directly experienced, so direct experience is the value. So gosh, how much money do you want to put in your pockets? Try to explore your multidimensional experience as an existential being here. And you know what? When you found Mr. Within in such a manner, you begin to see that our ignorance has kept our state of reality manifestation very low. So what that means is if your eyes, the minute they open in the morning, they were projecting worlds, they were suggesting manifestation and existence, you began to saw as your awareness changed, your perception changed too. So what that means is when the world changes with you, you are the creator as much as the world has created you. And so you may think that many people have gone in the world where we need to become, love the earth. That is true. We need to love any reality in any form, but at the same time we need to see that it is one where our love does not need to be shaped, and so there is no entrapment. It is only a devotion that is shaped that may entrap you. Because you'll wonder, gosh, I've been a disciple for so long, where is this going? Because you're not being sincere. And so if a guru is, if a teacher is letting the student continue in his ignorance and being like, all right, buddy, you got it, but the student doesn't got it, that teacher has not done his job. Whether it's teaching 2 + 2 or it's opening the worlds to how man's abstraction is also his presence. There are many teachers in this world, and simply you need to see that your whole moment of experience is what is giving your knowing. Feeling eternity is your doorway to understanding how reality works. It is simple. It is just you sitting down and very comfortably just being aware of how your nature works. And trust me, keep 2 things in mind. One, you are untouchable, because that is where your exploration is leading, to the unspeakable, untouchable, because it is your greatest experience that words cannot capture. It is not dualistic. And at the same time, you need to incorporate playfulness. Let playfulness be your companion. So it doesn't matter what reality you go on, whether it's you're confronting the most worst battlefield, or you are in wherever condition, or in the presence of your desires, or whatever. Whatever reality you're in, be playful with the reality. Because you will see your intelligence will shift your reality, because you are expressing that which is you. So what that means is when that person says, I'm hungry, he is communicating the hunger in a being. And so people are like, all right, this guy's hungry, so they count him in when they're getting food. Do you see? Fantastic phenomena, huh? And so you wonder if the hunger of man is satisfied. This hunger of man is the hunger of his greatest experience. And it's one that's moving towards transcendental understanding. So when a being understands that they're transcendentally situated, the creative ability shifts. And because the creative ability is enhanced, the plane wants you to remain in that. So what that means is when a being becomes aware of their subtler, let's say, planes of abstraction, they instantly recognize that as they're immediately in that state, they constantly want to remain in that state because the plane wants to keep it. So what that means is gravity occurs from the conscious view of a form. Because without the conscious view of a form, there cannot be an awareness to anything else. There will literally be nothing. So because man is in a world where he's around a dome of nothing, it's as if there's a dome of nothing over all his ideology, he must acknowledge the emptiness until he sees within himself, within his nature of being, a transcendental opening to the realization that we thought we had to go talk about it and, run after truth. We thought we had to move and make noise. But guess what? Nobody forgot to look at silence and stillness, the silent moments and stillness. And as you observe those moments, you begin to see a fabulous thing happens. There's integration. You begin to see that truth is in your state of expression and not the ideology that is becoming a belief. Because what that means is that it's more about the quality of the human being you are based on your existential compassion than the ideas you have and how confident you are in your ideology. Are you contributing to the human force, to the human progression? And if not, why? And these questions will guide you because they will shake you and you will shake yourself. And so when a giant wakes up, you will see in the oneness that creator and creation were understood in. The lies of man broke to show how within the world of the known there's always cracks of the unknown. And this quality is not to say that there's a game and an illusion, but that man needs honesty for his transcendence. Man needs sincerity for his transcendence. Man needs clarity for his transcendence. Man needs self-awareness for his transcendence. These are qualities. Because it's very unique. And it seems as if for the first time in one recording there has been an opportunity for consciousness to playfully present itself. Through a bridge of verbal communication. It's all here. Observe it and be. And you will see as you surrender your ignorance of trying or having to do something, you begin to see that in your humility to see what is going on in this world, you will find a moment that you trust, and from that moment of trust you will build the greatness of the consciousness of man. You will rise, and you will rise through your creation too. That means you will begin to live through every moment of your being with the clarity that you're not just a body in the moment, you are the whole moment and the experience beyond. And so such availability must not be thought to be inaccessible. Spirituality is not more imagery, it's really your relationship with the imagery of your universe. And this observance is that beautiful moment where you thought you were dreaming, suddenly you come back and you realize, okay, you're not dreaming. Then you come back in the dream, you realize you're dreaming, but then suddenly you realize that regardless of how many times you can do this, you are the ability of omniscience. So once a greater collective body is known to you, you will be the greater collective body. So you will have an inspiration to be more than what you are now. Evolution and transcendence is the natural phenomena that occurs when life looks at itself in regards to manifestation occurring. The light in our eyes was never just the light in our eyes. Remember who you are, for our structures of ideology break. The eternity of being was always felt. Much blessings and namaste.